Hi, I'm Christina Lowery, and I have the great honor of leading Girl Rising. At Girl Rising, we envision a world in which girls thrive with dignity and vast possibilities. Like everyone else, we're stuck in our homes right now. So in this series of conversations, I'm hoping to bring you an unfiltered view of the reality of girls around the world, of our work, and of the people behind it. Today, I'll be speaking with Debbie Odenyi, Girl Rising's Kenya Program Coordinator. Before we begin, I want to ground us all in the realities for girls in Kenya. Approximately 1.3 million primary school-age children in Kenya do not attend school. 55% of them are girls. Only 38% of adolescent girls complete secondary school. 23% of young women in Kenya give birth before the age of 18. Tell me, Debbie, you could be doing anything. What led you to this work? Why are you so passionate about this work with girls?
I'm passionate about the work with girls because of my grounding as a woman. I came from a farm ground with a very powerful mother who was so passionate about education. And so also being a single mother of a daughter, I take this as a challenge to me to empower more girls and using the skills that I have as an educator to ensure as many girls, especially those disadvantaged, are able to get an education and raise up to education and get opportunities like any other person could.
When you think about how do you describe, you said your mother was very passionate about education. What was the message you got as a young person about your possibilities?
So she was a woman of virtue. She worked so hard. She worked with vigor and endurance, ensuring that we all went to school. She was very generous. At no time did we ever live without a relative who was going to school. A relative was needy and had to go to school. And once in a while, I would see her a scholarship for a neighbor or someone in community who had excelled in school and did not have secondary school fees. And so she would initiate a scholarship for such a child, not once. And for me, that was an encouragement. And the way she handled her students at school. So I happened to go to the same school where she taught. And students there liked her. And now they are grown. They're so happy to always say, your mom was blessed. We loved her. And so for me, I saw that as an opportunity, her watching for others as well as ensuring that we all had all that we needed as valuable to raise us. I thought I should carry on that work of service, reaching out to someone else. There's a quote from Maya Angelou that I love that says, if you find it in your heart to care for someone else, then you will have succeeded. And for me, seeing girls excel in school, enroll at primary school, join secondary school, complete, join college and get something to do for them, for their lives, for me, that is success. And so I continue to do that. And why for vulnerable girls? So I had raised my daughter single-handedly, and I keep asking myself, how many other girls out there do not have support like I got from my mom, like my daughter got or gets from me? And so I'm out there to advocate and ensure that they also get an opportunity to go to school. And that is using my skills of telling them the importance and letting communities to know and families to know that education is transformative. It is an agent for social change. Yeah.
I think a lot about that too as a mom. I have 3 kids. How old is your daughter?
She's 25.
She's 25 now. And what is she doing in the world?
She's completed university and went back to school. So she did economics at university and she's back to school to take accounts. So she'd like to get into the world of accounting and finance. And so, yeah, she's back to college and currently interning at an organization in Kenya under finance, in the finance department. Yeah.
Good for her. You must be very proud.
So proud.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Mm.
Can you help us understand a little bit about what do girls in Kenya, it's a big question. Of course, there's a lot of variation, but how would you describe what's expected for a young girl in Kenya?
So generally in Kenya, when a girl grows up, automatically in most communities, she's expected to go to school, enroll in school from preschool, go through to primary. And so in 2003, Kenya enacted a law and made a primary school education free. And so this really escalated the enrollment at primary school to 84%. Mm. Although in regions that have high poverty rates and in high inequality rates, only 19% of the girls go to school. And so a regular girl in Kenya would be expected to enroll at school because it's free and go through primary education. And this year, the government made it 100% transition to high school. And so anyone who wrote grade 8 exam was expected to join high school. And the Ministry of Education ensured that they would follow girls to their homes to ensure they all enrolled into high school. And so these for girls has made them many of them be able to access education. Looking at marginalized areas, so for females in this area, female genital mutilation is actually illegal. But most parents still secretly practice it. For them, it's a way of curbing teenage pregnancies and increasing chances of such girls to get married. It's quite unfortunate. But the government is on their case in most cases. Then Kenya has also achieved millennial development goals like child mortality rate, universal primary school enrollment. I talked of the 100% transition to high school. And so these have increased the chances of girls going to school and have even narrowed the inequality, the gender gaps in education. Looking at teenage pregnancy, which also affects many girls in Kenya. So in every 5 girls, 1 girl is either pregnant or already a mother within the age of 15 and 19. And so for some girls, who do not get mentorship and maybe guidance and maybe dropped out of school because of poverty, some poverty is because of intergenerational poverty. So the cycles keep going round and round. And there are those who come from low resource areas, so education to them is not as we think it should be. Mm-hmm. And so, generally that's up for girls. And the dropout rates for girls are quite high compared to boys. And
in secondary school? In secondary school, you mean?
In primary school, so as they grow up. Mm-hmm. And so, and in some communities, it is known that they would rather a girl goes to school and not a boy. And so, it is quite varied in communities in Kenya growing up as a girl. But the current and latest advocacy is that all children should go to school. Every child should access education because it is a right and it is free. And the Ministry of Education is ensuring that. Yeah.
And what are the secondary school completion rates like for girls versus boys? Now, it sounds like there's been tremendous progress in Kenya over the last decade plus in terms of getting girls and boys both into school. And if you look at secondary school completion rates, how do those compare for girls and boys?
So for girls, looking at the rates, it's about 53% completion for girls. Yeah. And the boys, I wouldn't be very sure of the percentages, but I'm very sure of the girls percentages, yeah.
And what do you before the current situation, before the COVID lockdowns, what do you see as the biggest barriers to girls completing secondary school? What do you think, if you could wave your magic wand, Debbie, to ensure that all girls were able to make it through secondary school, what is it that needs to happen to make that happen? Again, this is kind of before the COVID lockdown, and then I'd like to talk a little bit about the situation now, but take us back before.
So before, I would look at completion of high school. Initially, it was because of lack of fees, poverty rates in Kenya, and mostly from low resource areas, and very few organizations supporting access of education for girls in Kenya. And so that would be one reason, poverty. Because high school education is not free like primary school education. They're expected to pay a fee.
So
and
even
also,
now, even with the 100% transition, the idea of 100% transition from primary to secondary school, there are fees associated with going that are mandatory.
Sure, and yeah, the scholarships offered are also very few, whether within school or within the government organization or other organizations supporting girl education. The support is limited, and not all girls are able to pay for fee or get someone to get them to access high school education. And then there is the issue of teenage pregnancies, like I mentioned. So the secondary school age in Kenya is about 14 to 18 years, and the rate at which girls conceive at teenage age is between 15 and 19. And so like I mentioned, in every 5 girls, at least one gets unintended pregnancy, or she is already a mother. And so that is another reason why they actually do not complete high school. Another reason would be because of the menstruation. And so, yeah, in 2017, the president amended a Basic Education Act where he signed an act and to ensure that the government provided sanitary towels to girls in schools. Yeah, because it was estimated in Kenya that a girl misses 4 days of school every month, which translates to 13 days in a whole term, which would be like 39 days in a whole academic year, which is huge. And that is reason number one for girls missing hours in school. And so them being availed sanitary towels then it ensures they're in school, because some of them especially low resource areas, like last month, there was a cover on the news that girls in a low resource area in Tana River, Kenya, dig holes. So they sit on them because now they're out of school. So they sit on the holes to be able to complete their menstrual cycle, because they are provided with sanitary towels in school and now they're at home. Yeah, so that would be another reason why completion at high school is not 100%. Another reason would be because of culture. So there's the early marriage in some communities in Kenya, especially the marginalized communities. And so they prefer their girls to get married early. That is why female genital mutilation is practiced. And so we rate a girl who completes high school would, if many of them would complete high school, actually 50%, there would be 50% reduction in marriage, early marriage in Kenya, which is another reason why girls do not complete high school.
So the lockdown in Kenya, we're now entering, what is it, the 8th week or 9th week?
8th week.
Of lockdown. You've just mentioned one way that girls are being severely impacted, that those who were provided sanitary supplies, menstrual supplies at school no longer have access to those supplies. What else, how else do you see this lockdown and COVID-19 impacting girls and the progress that has been made in Kenya on girls' education?
So I was reading the other day, and Plan International note that 743 million girls are out of school in 185 countries. Kenya is not an exception. That is a high risk for dropouts. And I'm scared for the girls in Kenya as well, that many of them may not be able to go back to school because of that, because of them stay at home. The reasons being, many of them are at home and we do not know what is happening to them, keeping in touch with them. Speaking to some of our partners in Kenya, especially those who work in marginalized areas of Samburu, two of them told me they are keeping track of the girls through the local authorities, the chiefs and their teachers as well, to ensure that the girls are still intact, they are still at home, and they've not been married off, because that is the highest risk. That would actually make them drop out of school. For the girls living in the urban informal settlements, I'm also scared because of their vulnerability. In Kenya, statistics show the spikes of infection are in these areas. And so, yeah, until we are sure this crisis is over, it's scary to know that some of the girls are in those communities. Thirdly, there is increased girl and young women duties. And so they're expected to care for their siblings who are out of school, maybe the elderly within family, maybe the ill within family, and the labor that comes with that. For girls, it's a huge risk. Then there is the bit of sexual exploitation, because now everyone is at home, and for teenage girls, that is very risky. This could cause unintended pregnancies, and that would make them not be able to go back to school. For the candidates, I was speaking to some of those that we work with, and there's heightened anxiety about exams. Now, with the closure of schools, those who are at grade 8, Form 4, they really do not know what next. And so anxiety of what next with them with their academics is causing depression to some of them. Yeah. And then there are those who will receive trauma. One, because maybe they have a family member who's infected, or the whole family was, or they've lost a loved one, or maybe they were quarantined. And so it will take long for them to come out of that trauma. So those are some of the ways girls are being affected in Kenya.
And you have worked with so many different organizations over your years of being an educator, and I know are now. Are you seeing anything that gives you hope?
There are quite a number, many organizations, especially those working in urban informal settlements. I would mention of Kawangware, Kibera, Mathare, and the rest in Nairobi, are actually keeping in touch with the learners. Some of them who do not have connectivity of data, or maybe electronic devices that could link them to education, like the affluent schools, because the affluent schools are going on with education like anyone else. Online learning is going on. In Kenya, there is the Edu channel by the Education Parastatal, KICD, Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, and so offering lessons. And there are organizations that are also assisting their learners to keep them busy with print material that is easy for them to understand while at home, and some parents or elder siblings can assist them. There's also a lot of anxiety about the lockdown, the containment measures that have made people lose jobs. They are staying at home and no job. There's impact on livelihoods that is negative. And so organizations are trying their best to ensure the supply of food, the supply of whatever they need in the homes, like for the girls, sanitary towels, so that the girls continue to have a decent menstruation time, a decent period. And so there are organizations that are working towards that. Some are even keeping in touch through WhatsApp. We have individual teachers who are in touch with their students. And so through WhatsApp, because that's easy, and you'll find that even some homes do not have a smartphone. I know of a girl who had to request her aunt to go and live with her so she could catch up assignment from school on an aunt's smartphone because her family did not have one. I know of a family who converges about three families so that they all are able to watch their TV and follow up lessons on the Edu channel. And so there's so much being done within communities, with organizations, and people who act on individual basis just to help at this time of the crisis.
Does it, are you worried about an increasing divide because of who has access to technology and who doesn't have access to technology, in terms of those children who are going to be left even more behind?
I'm so worried and so concerned, and how I wish that technology would just be a basic need, like the ones we consider basic. Yeah, access to such facilities should be there for all children, not just children from families who are affluent, who are able to access such. A family not even having a smartphone, even low-tech devices like TV, like radio, some families do not have that, and it's really worrying. And so other ways that to be creatively or innovatively done so that such children continue learning or continue being in touch with what everyone else is doing is a huge challenge, and it's a concern. And it should be addressed by governments. I mean, technology, connectivity to such children should be equal. There should be equality for all children, not just some.
Well, Debbie, thank you so much for taking the time this afternoon. I wish you a very lovely evening. And again, I look forward to the time that we can chat again, and really look forward to the time that our paths hopefully one day get to cross in person.
You're most welcome. Thank you for your time too, and thank you for having me too. So grateful.